Straight to our buddy Brandon Marcello here from 24/7 Sports. He's their national columnist, and he joins us occasionally. Brandon, thanks for being with us. I know it's a busy time. Anytime there's a coaching change at a program, there's 1,000 things you have to write, and then the normal week stuff that goes on. So we always appreciate your time. Let's start first with your thoughts when Harsin's announcement came. We knew it was coming. So there's no surprise question here. Just your thoughts on Bryan Harsin's time at Auburn.
Brandon, you're muted.
Or do we have him muted? Or is
I think, yeah, there you go.
That's me.
Yeah,
That's
you're
okay.
good now, man.
No.
So,
Hey, by the way, love your setup. You sent out a picture on your social media platform of your setup. Loved that setup the other day. Loved the way you got your computer set up. It really was impressive.
Yeah.
So much so I showed it to my wife for maybe a Christmas gift.
Well, hey, I had a bunch of Marriott points built up, and I got that computer screen for free.
Wow. Look at Brandon.
Yeah.
That's a smart way to roll.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, so how would I describe Bryan Harsin? Worst Auburn football coach ever.
Woo.
No question. I had someone say, hey, what about Earl Brown going way back when? I said, well, he beat Bama at least.
At least beat Alabama, yeah.
Man, Harsin was just what a terrible fit from the get-go, and he was a rock who did not know how to form himself into something that would fit in at Auburn, and he just refused to do so. He's hard-headed, and he's a good coach. It's just he believes in what he believes.
Brandon, you immediately yesterday say, and you're very well connected, obviously, at Auburn, having spent some time there and throughout college football, that Lane Kiffin is the number one choice. He's the one that makes the most sense, and there is real interest there from both sides, is what you indicated there. So your thought on Lane Kiffin at Auburn. So there is interest on both sides and primarily on Lane's side, right?
Oh, I did not report there were interest on both sides.
My apologies.
Interest on one side.
Yeah, my apologies.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. There's interest on one side for Auburn. But the way I should have phrased that is there are reasons that Lane would be interested on his side.
Yes.
Yeah. My apologies.
Certainly. Absolutely. The pitch to him is we got a lot more NIL money here, and the things that you believe are weaknesses that maybe not will be ever remedied there because of limitations that are inherent to Ole Miss, we do not have those issues at Auburn. That is the selling point there. It's not going to be about salary or whatever. They could pay him $10 million a year, and I would not be shocked if that's actually kind of what they offer him, which is kind of the market rate right now for an elite coach at a top 15 program. And he's getting paid $7.5 million now at Ole Miss. What's going to draw him to another job is here's an opportunity where you're going to be able to compete for a championship and maybe win one if you live up to your own expectations. Because if you live up to the expectations you have, you're going to be able to do whatever you want at a school like this. If you live up to your expectations personally at Ole Miss, you're not going to win a national championship there. That's the pitch. And does that convince him to move? Or does he want to stay there because of his past and USC and Tennessee and moving around, and maybe he doesn't want to chance it? That's the ultimate question. But from my sourcing and talking to people close to Auburn, and for that matter, people close and familiar with John Cohen and his decision-making and how he's going about approaching this job right now, Lane Kiffin is target number one for the Auburn Tigers.
And look, coaches and agents do this all the time. I would guess there might be a fear of if Lane allowed this to go, or maybe even hinted at it, Lane does crazy things, that this is a case of saying, hey, look, I really am concerned about the NIL. You either get this together or I may be taking a job like this. I mean, I guess in a sense getting played.
Yeah, potentially. And then there's other things that he has brought up. You know, you guys know it, him bringing up attendance at Ole Miss for 11 a.m. games. Why are people not showing up for games when we are good, let alone what's it going to look like if maybe we have a mediocre year? Just last week, he made a comment about losing defensive coordinator DJ Durkin to Texas A&M about how they outbid him. And then he made a joke about how A&M just outbids everybody. And Lane Kiffin has made comments about NIL and how others have more money and it's not necessarily fair. The only way to live in this college football world is to realize that it is unfair, much like real life. You guys know what real life's like. Sometimes coaches forget what real life's like. And life's unfair, college football's unfair, and if you want to reach the pinnacle and be able to level out your playing field the way you see it, you better go work at an elite job. Otherwise, you're going to hit your head on a ceiling elsewhere. And he's hitting his head repeatedly at Ole Miss, and he's found that out just in these last 2 years. Imagine what he's going to be thinking 3-4 years from now if he wins 11 games and still doesn't manage to be able to contend for a championship or even win an SEC championship. It's gonna frustrate him.
I understand what you're saying, but it seems like the path to winning a championship is the same at Ole Miss as it is Auburn. My question for you is Lane Kiffin's personality and the boosters you're very familiar with at Auburn. Can those two mesh together? I don't know. I've never hung out in a ballroom with the Auburn boosters or had a chance to have any conversations with them. Lane's a guy who likes to have a lot of fun. Can they put up with Lane's jocularity?
I don't know if they could. And for that matter, I don't know if it really matters anymore what the boosters at Auburn say. They have tried and tried and tried to derail a lot of things here in the last 3 years or get their way on certain things. And not all of it's bad. And if the leadership, especially in the president's office, doesn't see that that is in line with their thinking, they just don't do it really all that often anymore. And a lot of those people are losing power. They're not as strong in that room anymore. And I believe what you're going to see with John Cohen now as the AD is that he's been given some assurances by the president, Chris Roberts, that this is your athletics department. You're going to run it as you see fit. You report to me and only me. And let's get this done. Here's what we're offering you. Here's the pool of money and everything you have to work with. Outside noise is going to be outside noise. At this point, with so much money coming into Auburn, and for that matter, all the SEC and Big Ten, and booster money, yes, is important. You've got to have that for facilities and other things. But it's not as important as it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And, just because you get pissed off as an Auburn booster or supporter and you feel like you should have some sway because you've given $5 million or $10 million, the reality of the situation is that's really just a drop in the bucket these days. And we're playing with paper money now. Everything is pretend money in the SEC. This idea, everybody builds this up. I'm going on a little rant here. Everybody builds up this whole thing of, well, Auburn's paying $40 million over the last year to buyouts. Man, that's incredible. That's insane. Doesn't matter. They've got the money. And if they don't have it right now, they're going to, because the cash flow does not end. It continues to pour into there. You can commit $120 million to something, and it's not like you're spending it all right away. You could spread that out over 10 years. That's why when we see these big, massive deals at Texas A&M, Michigan State, everybody goes, whoa, they're crazy for doing that. I mean, maybe the person's not worth it. We could argue that all day, but they could pay it. And there's a reason why they're offering it, because they can pay it. They know they can pay it. It's not an issue. It's all pretend money. If they spend it, they'll just get more back. It's just an endless cycle.
This all happens as we head into the best weekend of the year in the SEC with two really huge games, Tennessee and Georgia being number 1 and number 2 in the country, and probably that way after the rankings come out tonight too, maybe in a flipped formation. Volunteers beat Georgia in Athens this weekend if what goes right for the guys in orange. What do you see a path to victory, a pretty easy path to victory for Tennessee?
Tennessee has less than 2 turnovers, and their offense just continues to click the way it is. It hasn't mattered what defense or type of defense or scheme or personnel they have faced defensively. they're still scoring 40 points. And if long as they don't turn the ball over more than 2 times at Georgia, I think they're going to win. But I do have a feeling that Georgia's going to force them into some mistakes, unlike we've seen from the Vols this season. They've done a great job protecting the football, especially Hendon Hooker. His stats are insane as far as just his interceptions rate. But Georgia, I think, is in a position to make them look human and not so invincible offensively, just from a turnover perspective. So, but if Tennessee commits just 1 turnover, or obviously less, I think they beat Georgia.
Brandon Marcello, 24/7 Sports. Before you go, Alabama is at LSU on the other side of the SEC. Not really playing the West Division deciding game because Ole Miss is still very much alive. But in the Alabama-LSU game, I realize the Tide has been impossible to figure out on the road. But one thing they've done well, no matter where they've played, is defend the run. And LSU's not a great run team. They get a lot out of Jaden Daniels. They don't get much elsewhere. That seems like a critical matchup in the game that really favors Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I saw that line at being double digits, 2 touchdowns. I was actually surprised by that. I think we're focusing way too much on this idea that Alabama just struggles on the road. They give up a lot of points, including the Arkansas game on the road when it was 28-23 at one point. But the X factor, as you guys know, is Bryce Young, and he's incredible no matter the venue and where he's playing. He was insanely good against Tennessee, and that gets lost in the mix. I think Alabama's going to go in there. It's at night. It's going to be crazy. Give LSU 7 points in that game, but Alabama's still going to win. They're just way more talented and deeper, much deeper than LSU right now. And I think that is a game they will win, and not sure if they win it going away because there's just so many issues with them, especially defensively. But I think they'll feel pretty good midway through the 4th quarter about what the result's going to be.
All right, go follow Brandon on Twitter at @bmarcello. Read his work and watch his videos at 24/7 Sports. He's always great with his time with us. And, Brandon, we very much appreciate that. I know it's a busy time. Thank you for carving out some for us today.
All right, see you guys. Appreciate you.
All right, buddy. You too. Take care, Brandon, with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.